On the broadcast tonight, find out why this woman went from the house to jail.
Albany creates hundreds of jobs.
And the championship on the line, the Women's Basketball League in the last round. And we've got the highlights. The Bahamas tonight. The National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
House of Assembly members reacted with shock as the proceedings came to a standstill today. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Altaviz Munnings.
And I'm Andrew Knowles. Thanks so much for joining us. It was a bizarre chain of events in the House of Assembly this morning after a woman attempted to grab and destroy the mace, the symbol of the Speaker's authority. The event unfolded as House proceedings were about to begin, leaving everyone in the gallery in awe.
They watched this lady, and they were suspicious of her, to the extent that they asked her to move, to not give her a clear shot. And I think that was good. That it shows that they're vigilant, and it could have been a lot worse, but we subverted that.
And House Speaker Dr. Kendall Major says charges will be brought against the woman after her failed attempt to snatch the mace out of the mace bearer's hand during the Speaker's procession.
He responded very quickly, removed himself, and she ended up in front of me, and I assisted in the operations, which was a very strange thing, but I helped to restrain her, and then the quick action of police officers, the Sergeant-at-Arms and Officer Thompson, we were able to restrain her, and then they removed her from the premises, took her in custody at Central Police Station.
But what would cause her to make such a bold attempt? We're told the woman reportedly said God told her to destroy the mace because of the evil it represents. Dr. Major told ZNS that he's since spoken to her and will recommend psychiatric evaluation. Additionally, he said she'll be banned for a period of time from the precincts of the House. However, the incident brings into question the security at the House of Assembly. Dr. Major says over the last few months, they have beefed up security measures, but some more things can be done.
The biggest challenge we have is the spacing and the inadequacies of the amenities of the House. And so we could look at some other things that we could do, but presently I'm satisfied that the officers they responded very quickly, they were in position, they reacted extremely well, and we were also happy that there was not a secondary incident, because sometimes when there's one, there's someone else, but we were satisfied that the lady operated alone. And so after the environment was secured, the business of the House continued as usual.
Down to the business of the House today, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force is poised to receive an upgrade in excess of $200 million.
Well, tonight, caller Palmer tells us that the government made its case to borrow the funds as it tabled a resolution in Parliament today, making the requests.
In moving the resolution, Member of Parliament for Golden Isles, Minister of State for Finance, the Honorable Michael Alcides, confirmed the funds are earmarked to purchase 9 new vessels for the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, dredging and civil works, training and retraining of Marines and officers, allow for the purchase of more spare parts for vessels, implement a substantial maintenance system, and the purchase of a ship simulator.
The proposed financing plan will allow the government to access funds as needed over a 4-year period to fund the project, and the loan agreement will be supported by an export credit facility approved by the Dutch Export Agency. This export credit facility allows the government to benefit from a concessional rate of financing. The loan will also have a commercial tranche and a weighted average tenor, meaning the time to maturity of this facility would be 12.5 years, with an average interest expense of less than 5% per annum. Provisions for all of the expenditures related to this project are in the government's fiscal framework for the 2013-2014 through to the 2016-2017 fiscal period.
With the additional vessels, the government is hoping that threats to our marine resources are reduced, like the problems of illegal immigration, poaching, smuggling of goods, and human trafficking.
It is important that we do this to ensure our safety, our security, and as well our reputation. I don't think that you can find one Bahamian who does not agree that the Royal Bahamas Defense Force and indeed all our law enforcement agencies need to be properly resourced.
According to Minister Alcides, the government has already made the decision that the first of the new vessels, which is expected to arrive in June, will be named in honor of former Governor General the Honorable Arthur D. Hanna. The last of the vessels will arrive here in the Bahamas in 2016. Member of Parliament for Fox Hill, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Immigration the Honorable Fred Mitchell, seconded the bill. I'm Carla Palmer for ZNS Network News.
Also contributing to today's debate was Member of Parliament for North Eleuthera, Theo Neely. While he understands the benefits of which the funds are earmarked, he was still critical of government's borrowing.
Mr. Speaker, one of the things I find amazing is that just last week we ended a debate that carried on for a very long period of time. In fact, it extended some 4 weeks here in the House. It was the mid-year budget report. And you recall during that entire budget report and the contributions and debate, members opposite bragged and boasted that this mid-year budget, there's no borrowing of any money. There would be no borrowing. And that's very true. There was no borrowing at that time during the mid-year budget report, which just ended 6 days ago, I'd remind the House. It was last Thursday, in fact, when we ended that debate, when the Prime Minister wrapped up, and before he was the Minister of National Security, that noted there would be no borrowing. But yet now just 6 days later, we're here at the House, now with a resolution before us, to borrow $232 million.
Well, last night a contract was signed between the government and the Holland company Damon Shipyards for the delivery of those vessels. Arla Don Davis was at the contract signing.
The 9 new vessels will allow the more than 1,200 Defense Force officers to effectively police our borders from threats of illegal migration, human smuggling, drugs, and poaching of our marine resources. National Security Minister Dr. Bernard Nottage confirmed that the Minister of Finance will table a resolution in Parliament to enable the government to enter into an agreement with the Deutsche Bank to borrow $232 million to purchase the new Defense Force vessels.
The contract with Damon Shipyards also calls for the upgrade in the Bahamas within the shortest possible time frame of 2 Bahama-class vessels, namely the HMBS Nassau and the HMBS Bahamas, each of which are 198 feet in length and which entered service in 1999. The upgrades will extend the operational lifestyle of these vessels for several years. Further, the contract also calls for the establishment of facilities for training and for the acquisition of a bridge simulator. Additionally, the government will execute a contract for port infrastructural works, both marine and shoreside, at Coral Harbor here in New Providence, at Gunpoint in Ragged Island, and at Matthewtown in Great Inagua.
Pleased that border control is getting a further boost, Prime Minister Perry Christie believes these new vessels will be critical in providing rescue missions throughout the country during and after a disaster.
The United States government has but they are in the process of making donations of 3 major warehouses to our country for the purposes of better preparing us in terms of quick responses on disaster preparedness. One has been built at Coral Harbor. Very recently we took possession of one in Freeport, Grand Bahama, and there's a third to be placed in a strategic location in the Family Islands. Again, all part of a process of being able to have an effective Royal Bahamas Defense Force being in a position to provide maximum protection.
Area Director of the Americas for Damon Shipyards, Sander Van Oord, maintained the German-based company's commitment to ensuring they see the contract through the long term.
We care for their reputation by delivering a quality product on time and on budget. This cooperation does not end when we hand over the last vessel and complete the final piece of construction. Being family businesses, we will remain committed over the long term to ensure you have our support well into the next generation.
National security officials retained advice from several technical and civil aviation consultants for this acquisition. Meanwhile, the first vessel will be delivered to the Bahamas on June 12th and will be named in honor of former Governor General Arthur Hanna. LaDon Davis, ZNS Network News.
Albany's expansion creates hundreds of jobs for Bahamians.
And going after a crown, the Women's Basketball Championship Series in full swing. We've got the highlights. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
News is brought to you by Shell Quality Fuels.